Good evening, everyone. My name is Melanie Parikh, and I have the honor of serving as the president of the Connecticut Against Gun Violence Youth Council. I want to begin by thanking all of you for joining us to honor and remember the 154 victims of gun violence in Connecticut from May of 2025 through April of this year. Though I can't see all of your faces, I'm grateful to each and every one of you who are listening tonight and to our powerful speakers who took the time out of their busy schedules to join us both live and through recorded videos tonight. This is the fourth vigil I have been a part of since joining CAGV. We pride ourselves on action and advancing legislation that has tangible impacts. But the reason that we're still here is that our work is not even close to done. So we're going to keep showing up in protests at the Capitol and on nights like these, because legislation can change a law and prevent further tragedies, but it can't say a name out loud or sit in the grief of a community and refuse to let that grief be forgotten. Vigils exist because behind every bill, every vote, every policy, win or loss, there are people. People who deserve to be remembered, not solely as a number, but as a life. So we show up here too because the work that we do is so that one day we won't have to anymore. This theme of tonight's vigil is our future demands. This is not a passive phrase, nor is it a wish or a hope or a plea. It's a declaration. Our future, the one that we're fighting for, makes demands of us. It demands honesty about the scale of this public health crisis we're facing. It demands courage from the people who hold power, and it demands that we refuse to normalize what was never normal to begin with. As 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, we continue to show up despite knowing that this work is painfully slow, because we know something that many adults are still learning, which is that young people are the leaders of right now. So to everyone joining us tonight, whether this is your first vigil or your fourth, thank you for refusing to look away despite the discomfort. Thank you for understanding that honoring those we have lost means fighting relentlessly for the living. The 154 people we remember tonight deserved a future, and in their memory, we will build one, because our future demands it. I now have the honor of introducing Governor Ned Lamont. We are eternally grateful for your consistent support of CAGV and the Youth Council. This session, Governor Lamont championed legislation banning the sale of convertible pistols and strengthened protection against ghost guns. We thank you for your commitment to keeping all residents of Connecticut safe.
Lady, thank you. Thank you. I'll tell you why. You coming to the Capitol make an enormous difference. People listen to you. They listen to young people. They love the heart you bring to this. You're not bringing politics into it. And every day we've got to push. Every day the bad guys keep trying to find ways around our laws. As you just heard, there's now little devices that can turn a pistol into a machine gun. And we said these devices ought to be illegal in the state of Connecticut. And it was controversial. It was controversial that we would try and say you can't turn your pistol into a machine gun. And you are very invaluable. Go there, talk to Democrats, talk to Republicans, tell them why you're going. And secondly, we do a lot of things in government that are sort of performative and symbolic and make us feel better. Not gun safety laws. They work. They make an enormous difference. We have one of the lowest crime rates and less gun crimes, half the rate of what you see in places like Georgia and Louisiana, where have very permissive laws out there. Everything from our red flag laws to getting those ghost guns off the street. The police thank us and say, not only is our community safer, but we're safer as well. So thank you for standing up. And it's just a reminder, you're never too young to get involved. In fact, you're more credible if you go to the halls of our legislature, look people in the eye and say, thank you for what you're doing. Now do a little bit more. And I'll just leave you with one other message. We have some pretty good folks down representing Connecticut and Washington, led by Chris Murphy and Dick Blumenthal. And they are leaders when it comes to gun safety in Washington, because there's no question, a lot better to do this on a federal basis than state by state. But they are able to say, thanks to your good work, look at Connecticut. Look at those red flag laws. Look at their gun safety laws. Look at safe storage laws. Look at what they're doing in terms of making it tougher to turn your pistol into a machine gun. It is working in Connecticut. It can work in your state as well. Let's do that together. Thank you, guys. Appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you, Governor Lamont.
Thank you, Governor.
Next,
Thank
we'll
you.
hear from Rashida.
Governor
one of
Lamont.
the council members.
Thank you, Governor Lamont, for that amazing message. So, growing up in Connecticut, it wasn't an unfamiliar topic to talk about the tragedy that occurred at Sandy Hook School. The children whose lives were violently taken from them did nothing to deserve that. But this is even greater than Sandy Hook. Every year, when my school does shooter lockdown drills, I feel tired. I feel tired because students should not have to get used to the feeling that someday an intruder might come with a gun and try to kill them. I feel tired because students who hide in one corner in the classroom have to squeeze their classmates' hands to stay calm, to stay silent under these scenarios. While these lockdowns occur, politicians are often quick to respond with the default thoughts and prayers rhetoric. However, these victims cannot always rely on thoughts and prayers. They need stronger legislation against gun violence, preventing these problems from occurring. Seeing everyone in this call is a testament to fix the broken legislature and create change that uplifts our children instead of terrorizing them. We all share the same goal of putting an end to gun violence. Our future demands change. This catalyst of change starts with us, working to create a safer Connecticut for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rashida. I now have the pleasure of welcoming Nelba Marquez Green. Nelba is a licensed marriage and family therapist, a community scholar at the Yale School of Public Health, and the founder of the Anna Grace Project, which she created in memory of her daughter, Anna Grace, who was killed at Sandy Hook in 2012. We are honored to have her here with us tonight.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I can't
Good
find
evening.
my notes. Oh, here they are. Can you all still see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Good evening and welcome CAGV Youth Council, staff, leaders, volunteers, and friends. I thank you for your time of remembrance today and hard work of advocacy throughout the year. I'm here to represent my family. I'm also here to ask you as youth leaders to not forget a few key things. Many experiences and influential people will shape the way you fight for gun responsibility. Stay open, stay flexible, learn as much as you can from diverse voices. Balance your work with joy and rest. Invest in your self-care, in your time with friends and family. Build community among your peers. It will sustain you when things get difficult. I want you here for the long run. As a mom who lost a child in Sandy Hook and a mom who got one out, I want to remind you that this work of gun violence prevention actually needs two teams. One that focuses on policy and legislative change, and another that focuses on the care and support of impacted families. I want you to understand that listening to most impacted families is critical to your development as an advocate and to the movement. Tonight, you're going to read names. Tomorrow, I hope you might take the time to Google one of those names and check out if their family is doing any work in remembrance of them. Show up to support them. What I'm saying is, I am thankful for your activism. But what I leave you with is that activism without relationship is not as strong or effective as activism in relationship. I invite you to learn more about the lost, precious humans murdered on 12/14 and humans lost in New Haven, Bridgeport, Hartford, Waterbury, and other communities that don't get nearly as much attention. Thank you for reading the names tonight. Teach your friends to remember them too and to get involved. Survivors don't just want to be talked about. We want to be talked to. Get to know us. Help us as we remember our loved ones in our work as well. Let us know who you are. I wish you grace, love, and strength for this arduous but winnable journey as we work together to end gun violence. Thank you. I'm Anna and Isaiah's mom.
Thank you, Nelba.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will hear from Oscar Pitkin, one of the Youth Council members.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for attending. As Melanie said, my name is Oscar Pitkin. My whole life, gun violence has lingered closely by. I live on the border of New Haven, which is one of the most violent cities in Connecticut. This September, in New Haven, a 15-year-old boy named Caden Phillips was shot and killed next to the Lincoln Bassett Community School. I am a 15-year-old boy who passes by the Lincoln Bassett Community School every day, including this morning. Caden Phillips had a little brother. I have a little sister. When Caden was killed, it reminded me that gun violence isn't a faraway statistic. It's a 15-minute jog from home. In October, a 13-year-old boy was charged with Caden's murder and with possession of a pistol. I grieve for victims like Caden. Every time a bullet pierces someone's life, this world loses what they would have added to the world. Every life means something, but a world where a 13-year-old kills someone with a gun doesn't reflect that. Caden meant something. His little brother, his passion for basketball, and his devotion to the faith. All of that was stolen with a single pop. Everyone who agrees with me that every victim, every life matters, isn't forced to watch the world worsen. They can advocate for stronger gun safety laws, inform their lawmakers of their values, and support organizations like Connecticut Against Gun Violence. If enough people rise up, the life of a 15-year-old kid will start to matter a little more. Our future demands that we rise. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ozzy. Next, we'll hear from David Hogg. David survived the 2018 Douglas High School shooting in Parkland, Florida, and has spent every year since turning that survival into action. He co-founded March for Our Lives and continues to organize and advocate for a future free of gun violence. He couldn't be with us live tonight, but he made sure to be here on video.
Hi, I'm David Hogg, gun violence prevention advocate and former student from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in Parkland, Florida, and co-founder of March for Our Lives. Our future demands leaders who do the right thing before there is a shooting that happens, that don't just focus on the gun violence that happens in schools like we had, unfortunately.
Let's try that one more time.
Hi, I'm David Hogg, gun violence prevention advocate and former student from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in Parkland, Florida, and co-founder of March for Our Lives. Our future demands leaders who do the right thing before there is a shooting that happens, that don't just focus on the gun violence that happens in schools like we had, unfortunately, in Parkland, but address the gun violence that happens every day around the country that often doesn't make it in the news. That also includes gun suicide that we absolutely do have to address. Our future demands young people that rise up to become the leaders that we needed but had far too few of as we were children. We need people who actually have the courage to do the right thing on gun violence. And that doesn't just mean addressing how we strengthen our gun laws. That means addressing why somebody feels the need to pick up a gun in the first place. Why is it that many communities that have the least resources have the most gun violence? It's because people are desperate. We have to address the starvation, the poverty, the trauma, the racism, and so many other injustices and forms of hatred that drive gun violence in the first place. Our future demands a world in which hatred is not classified as a mental illness by the media. When somebody like the shooter at my high school, who was a self-declared neo-Nazi, goes and kills 17 of my classmates and teachers, and we directly address the hatred that causes somebody to do that in the first place. And we acknowledge the role that PTSD plays in causing much of the retaliation that drives gun violence. Our future demands leaders that invest in communities so that people don't feel the need to go out and harm somebody else, to go and get the resources that they need to simply survive. And a future in which if there is somebody who threatens to shoot up a high school, like the shooter at my high school did, that they are not able to legally obtain and continue to own a weapon like the AR-15. I hope in our future, one day, videos like this will be left in our history books and not in our headlines after there's been another horrific instance of gun violence that has happened. Our future demands the people that have survived gun violence, that should be the last ones to have to do anything about it, to unfortunately be the ones to do something about it, because we understand the cost of inaction that our politicians are made far too comfortable by. And that means all of us as young people rising up, running for office, and being part of the change that we want to see to ensure that the next generation doesn't have to rise up after there are shootings in their schools and their communities and be expected to do the right thing. Our future demands a world in which adults don't go to the kids that survive school shootings and say, my generation really screwed up, but thank God you kids are here to save us. Because in that future, it won't be required for young people to stand up to address gun violence, because it will have been addressed long before it ever happens in the first place. And it's important to acknowledge that we have made a lot of progress. Gun deaths in this country, in particular gun homicides, are down by about 33% over the past 3 or 4 years. But that's nowhere near enough. We have a lot further to go. And it's hard as well to acknowledge the fact that there are shootings that are not happening. It's not hard to acknowledge that, but it's hard to remember that when we're never going to hear about the shootings that don't happen because they don't make it in the news. We're never going to hear about the thousands of people whose lives are saved every year by red flag laws and stronger gun laws and violence intervention programs and so many other programs and laws around the country because of the shootings that were prevented in the first place. And that's one of the hardest parts about doing this work. We can be doing everything right and making an enormous amount of progress, but fail to remember that there are people alive right now because of the work that each and every one of you have done that we don't know the names of because they never became a headline, because that red flag law was used. That violence intervention program did help that young person get the resources that they needed. And my hope with you all is that you take care of yourselves. After Parkland, there were so many people that came to us after the shooting at my high school, that came to me and my classmates and other fellow activists after we organized millions of people to march with us around the country to create change on gun violence. And many of the adults that we talked to afterwards, just when many of us were 16, 17, 18 years old, would say to us, my generation really screwed up, but thank God you kids are here to save us. And we took that to heart, and it nearly destroyed us. As you can imagine, there's a lot of survivor's guilt that comes along with what we went through in Parkland, and I'm sure what, unfortunately, many of you have gone through yourselves. And it's important to remember that if the survivors of gun violence that power this movement are not taking care of themselves, then they are not taking care of the movement. I want you all to know that you can take a break when you need to, because I'm out there doing the work when you can't. And I can know that you can that I can take a break when I can't do this work because you all are out there doing it yourselves. So thank you so much for having me. And I hope that you all take that message to heart, because I know it can be hard to do as we see more and more gun violence every single day. But if we cannot take care of ourselves, we cannot take care of our movement, and we will not succeed. This is not even a marathon. This is an ultra marathon, not a sprint. But we will get to the finish line one day, so long as we sustain ourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Next, we'll hear from Skylar, one of our youth council members.
Hello, my name is Skylar Urbina, and I'm from Sandy Hook. I was only 3, about to turn 4 when the tragedy happened, but I still remember it all. I remember riding on my dad's shoulder as he ran into the firehouse, thinking it was a fun game, but quickly realizing it wasn't. I remember the look of panic on my dad's face as he scoured through the room looking for my sister, eventually finding her with a big hug in the corner. And I also remember never seeing my friend again. He was older than me, and I really looked up to him. I think about those moments every single day, whether it's when I'm sitting in class, walking through the supermarket, anywhere. It's always there, because I learned at 3 years old that anything can happen at any time. We've made so much progress since Sandy Hook, but there's still so much more to do. Something I've noticed that absolutely terrifies me is that people nationwide have become desensitized to these shootings. It's just another day in America because it literally does happen every single day. But we don't have to let this happen. We don't have to treat these preventable tragedies as an inevitable part of our lives. Use your voice to disrupt the silence, the voice that so many people, including my friend, have lost. Our future demands action, but change doesn't just start in government buildings, it starts within each one of us. So thank you all for being here this evening.
Thank you, Sky. Next, I'm honored to introduce Senator Richard Blumenthal. Senator Blumenthal has been one of the most consistent and vocal champions for gun violence prevention in the United States Senate, and Connecticut is lucky to call him our own. He could not join us live this evening, but we wanted to make sure his voice was part of this vigil.
Hi, I'm Richard Blumenthal, your United States Senator, and I am sorry I can't be with you in person, but I'm with you in spirit, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak with you. Young people are leading this vigil, organizing this movement, and refusing to accept gun violence as inevitable. It's one of the most powerful actions taken by young people in Connecticut right now to end this scourge of gun violence. You are the future of this fight, and you're also the present. Gun violence is the leading cause of death for children and teenagers in the United States, surpassing car accidents, cancer, and every other cause of death. That's not a statistic that we should ever grow numb to. In 2025, Connecticut lost 151 lives to gun violence. Behind every one of those numbers is a family still grieving, working to cope, and showing up just like everyone on this call. The theme, Our Future Demands, says everything. It demands action. It demands accountability. It demands that we stop offering thoughts and prayers and start passing laws at the federal level, as Connecticut has done in our state legislature, thanks in large part to CAGV. The CAGV Youth Council has shown what courageous principled leadership looks like at any age. We remember tonight all the individuals Connecticut lost to gun violence. We honor their memory with action. That's what this vigil is. That's what this movement is. Keep going. Never doubt you are making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. We will close our speaker program with something that policy language sometimes can't reach. Anna Capel is a college student at University of Vermont and was a 2025 Connecticut Poet Laureate. Tonight she'll be sharing a poem about firearm violence, and I can't think of a better way to hold space for the 154 lives we are remembering today.
Thank you everyone for being here. This is a poem that I wrote after the death of Charlie Kirk, and it is called There's No Differentiation of Skin to a Bullet. I heard the bullets that struck Sandy Hook students. I heard the bullets that ruptured Palestinian skin. I heard the bullets that pierced praying children. I heard the bullets that burst Black bodies. I heard the bullets that made elementary schools their rain catchers. Did you know spilled blood housed somewhere other than a white male also has a tang to it? Church bells rang, screams sang, and that gun legally bangs. How many people must die before it's declared doomsday? Today, a man who made metal his martyr is mourned. How do you weigh the weight of a life? All blood spilled tastes metallic. When will we lick our wounds with wish we did not worship bullet machines? All blood gushes regardless of where it resides. There is no fine print to my prayers and wishes. No human body should be brutally bombarded by bullets. Our students should be learning logs, not lockdown drills. It is not us against each other. Every single victim has a mother. It is us against murder. It is us for reorder. We must speak. Any of us could be shot to silence. And maybe it will take a white man for this country to finally see the problem with gun violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. And thank you to all the speakers here. We now turn our focus fully to those we are here to honor. Every name you are about to hear was a person, someone with a life, a story, and people who love them, someone who should still be here. As each name is read, we ask you to hold space and to let it renew your commitment to why we keep showing up. Nathaniel Betts, William Doak, Jared Floyd, William Sobkovich, Lori Thrall, Nathan Field, Jordan Patterson, Keith Paul, Christopher Hill, Gary Creevy, Jakai Perry, John Garbarino, Eric Mason, Shannon DeGuire, Samuel Peak, John Purcell, Ernesto Martinez, Javari Smith,
Ryan Hazelwood, Sean Fallon, Deborah Howe, Christopher Franco, James Cook, Jason Chapman, Colin Michaud, Victor Riva, Charisma Fox, Domingo Torres, Ross Ariola, Thomas Shook, Glenn Treadwell, William Lewis, James Gearhart, Christopher Slimmer, Amanda Williams,
Dylan Cornelius, Dennis Atkinson, Jason Bruno, Christopher Babcock, Niaje Vernon, DeQuayne Hyman, Ernest Williams, Keith Thompson, Brequan Chapman, Gary Pastuzak, Bryce Turallo, Miguel Alfinez, Donovan Charlton, Andre Newton, John Donadio, Frank Garay, Don Bovenzi,
Joshua Walmsley, Caden Phillips, Isaiah Molina Akeem, Dwight Watson, Nicholas Tedesco, Mario Darden, Jose Avila, Marvin Johnson, Mark Adams, Carlene Williams, Ryan Testa, Joshua Sylvester, Paul Olson, Cynthia Jimenez Pacheco, Joel Martinez, Evelyn Rayo Mariana, Jesse LaBelle,
Bailey Predis, Andrew Olson, Robert Pascal, Jesus Guzman Torres, Alex Acevedo, Ronald Fernando, Stephen Lewis, Deborah Watts, Lucian Bernier, Quincy Perez, Richard Manola, Jennifer Adams, Kerwin Romero, Gregory Reynolds, Martin Maloney, Jed Parkington, Francis Morin.
Peter Ruggiero, Andrew Bombero, Nash Joya, Mohammed Dien, Thomas Caffrey, John Murphy, Jordan Thompson, Victor Keshpe, James Simonelli, Elisha Miller, Edison Texera, Adrian Encarnacion, Keon Washington Archibald, Deron Johnson, John Rushik, Hector Ortiz Rivera, Jeffrey Barber,
Sebastian Harris, Lionel Diaz, David Graff, Juan Calix Castro, Randolph Leathers, Mitchell Luneau, Gregory Williams, Jill Festa, Richard Davis, Everard Walker, Clarence Burns, Calcius Hales, Christine Azell, John Azell, Camden Siegel, Dylan Durkin, Martim Luis.
Gordon Hopkins, Stephen Jones, Dean LaFrance, Susan Halstead, Christopher Shannon, Richard Magruder, Colin Roberts, Colin Bizil, Kamel Davis, Derek Mercado Labonte, William Whipple, Vincente Pauline Waters, Alexander Syriac, Patrick King, Felicia Matthews, Melina Burnham Matthews, Ava Lee King.
Terrence Kramer, Paul Use, Paul Balzarno, Douglas England, Cedric Guion, Sri Sudhakar Nauduri, Kevin Walsh, Ryan Anderson, Stephen Foco, Maurice Fangemi, Christopher Simmons, Carlos Soler Bernier, Kelsha Claudio, Michael Harvey, Alfredo Cuellar, Xavier Reyes, Justin Kruger.
Thank you for holding space with us. I want to close by saying a few words about intention. Every person here tonight made a choice to show up, to witness, and to refuse to let these names fade into the background noise of a world that moves on too quickly. That choice matters. Your presence here tonight is an integral step in building a movement that refuses to forget and refuses to stop fighting. To our speakers, thank you for lending your voices here tonight and for reminding us why this work is worth doing. And to each of you joining us from wherever you are, thank you for choosing presence over comfort and for understanding that remembrance and action are not separate things. The vigil has now concluded. Thank you.